Hi guys, I'm alive after say maybe more than 2 weeks, right? And yeah, it's been raining here in Chennai, and we just managed to sail through this week. And I'm here almost at the end of the week on the sixth recipe that we will be doing on the Fondbites Bake Along 2.0. And I managed to just release the recipe card today morning, and I couldn't do it yesterday of what we are going to do it this week, right? So it's a very, very delicious white chocolate orange brownies. Brownies are basically, we have that, that dark brown, dark chocolate brownie with a lot of different varieties. But then white chocolate brownie is like one unsung hero. I really love the white chocolate brownie, but then there has to be different ways in which we have to infuse flavors. So it really is a nice dessert. As like the dark chocolate brownies, the white chocolate brownies together with orange pairs up really well, and the zest that I have here, which you will all be using again if you're going to follow this recipe, is adding so much powerful orange flavor into this brownie. And that is going to be really, really yummy, which we are going to make now. So you can refer to the recipe card for the measurements at the end of doing the entire thing. I'm going to also suggest the eggless substitute, which we just tried out. And I just want to tell you what other substitutes that I have done. But this one that I'm going to make will be using eggs. Okay. So for the first step, I want to prepare the cake ring. You can also use square cake pan. Okay. So let me just move this one aside. Okay, so that's the baking tray, and that's the square pan. You can use a 7-inch square pan, and if you have a cake ring, then you could just use a cake ring as well. The inside of the cake ring has to be lined with aluminum foil. So let me just do that. So when I start with doing lining the pan also and the cake ring also, just cover from the outside, and then it can be used to um, put it on the inside, line the inside. So I'm just trying to get the shape first. So crush the foil. The same thing you can do using the foil, the cake pan as well. And now gently remove this without disturbing the shape, and put the foil down. So that is going to act like the base also if I'm going to use the ring. And keep the cake ring, and then just put the foil inside, just retaining the shape. If you're using a cake pan, you don't need a baking tray. And now that this is a ring, and then the bottom is going to be just the foil. I'm using the baking tray to support the batter. Let me just put it down and then get this settled before I place this onto the. So when you're lining up with the foil, make sure all the sides is completely covered, and then you also have loose leftover hangout of the aluminium foil, which we would just use to pull it out, so the brownies are not sticking to the sides of the pan. Now once you've done the lining and place this on a baking tray and set this aside, you could also brush the inside. If you're using butter paper also, you could use for this purpose. And on the aluminium foil also, you could just brush it with butter. So peeling off the brownies once they are baked is easier, and it's not going to stick. Okay, so then the oven has to be preheated to 180 degree Celsius, and you have to allow that to go on preheating. When you start the process itself, you could just start off with a preheating. Then the first step is going to be melting the white chocolate and the butter together. So I have the white chocolate here and the butter, which I'm just going to place over a simmering water. I don't want to boil it directly on the saucepan. It is going to scorch or burn out the white chocolate. So I'm going to use a glass bowl, like the double boil method. The bottom of the glass bowl is not touching the water. I'm just going to allow the water to come to a boil, after which I'm going to simmer down and reduce the heat. I'm using Granulated white, so that's Coacher chocolate. I'm just checking if the water starts to boil now. You want both the butter and the chocolate to combine really well. You could microwave, but then you have to be really very careful that the chocolate doesn't split and it's not going to become a very homogeneous mixture. So double boiling, and then you can be just sure when the both of them melt really well and come together, and then you can then immediately stop heating. So it's starting to boil. I'm not going to allow the water to boil like beyond the point. So I've reduced, which means I've just put it into simmer. So the butter is melting first. I'm going to keep mixing so the chocolate also melts and combines with the butter. I'm just going to take a little while for the chunks of the chocolate to melt fully and combine with the butter. Now this will make sure that this is not boiling, the butter is not getting overly heated up, the chocolate is also just getting enough heat to melt and combine with the butter. So the both together combine, mix up and become a single component now. It's almost melted. And there's that little bit heat that will be left over, which is going to also melt if there's any um, little chunks of the chocolate, but then there isn't enough chocolate there. Everything is melted. So I'm just going to put the induction stove away. And now I'm just going to keep this butter chocolate mixture to cool down a bit. So for my next step, what I need is to flavor the sugar. The orange zest um, and the sugar are going to come together, and that's when the flavor is just going to go inside the sugar, and then this sugar is then going to go inside the brownies. So that's about a tablespoon, and it actually took 1 orange's zest, which I'm going to add into the sugar. That's granulated white sugar, and I'm going to rub the sugar and the zest together until the sugar uh, becomes aromatic. You can just um, get a really nice aroma, the flavor, that you can just smell through as you are rubbing the sugar and the zest. You can just check how the natural color from the zest of the orange is just taken by the sugar granules. So now we've made orange flavored sugar from the zest of the orange. Now this I'm going to set it aside. I'm just going to wipe off my hands, and then the dry ingredients, we just need to get it together. So I have all purpose flour, almond meal, and the salt. I'm just going to bring all three together. So I'm adding the almond meal in the flour, and then salt also goes in, and I'm just going to whisk it together. You just need to combine them, and that will be the dry ingredients getting mixed up together. Okay, and after this is over, just set this aside, and then we have the egg and the vanilla alone, that's not touched. Now we will just start working on the butter, for which let me just get the bowl of the KitchenAid ready. Into this I'm going to add eggs, both. Now I'm going to start beating the KitchenAid, like I'll be talking also as the KitchenAid is running. Now I'm going to start beating this on the medium speed until the eggs break down and then start getting together. And then I'm going to add the sugar little by little, the orange sugar little by little, as it keeps running. And then both of them together should get beaten for about 3 to 5 minutes until you see a ribbon consistency texture, right? I'm adding the sugar, the orange sugar, little by little. As you can see, it's getting combined with the eggs. You don't want to add all the sugar at a time. I'm going to increase the speed now. So you can see it's mixed up well. It is really very pale in color now. Now I'm going to continue beating it on slow speed while I'm going to pour the butter and the chocolate mixture in a slow stream. I'm going to pour everything together. Okay, continuing to beat on the slow speed now. And then I'm just mixing the white chocolate and the butter that was melted. I'm going to start pouring that. So the butter and chocolate is now added. I'm also going to add in the vanilla now. Now once the butter and chocolate mixture is combined well, you don't have to beat a lot after that. And then I'm just going to remove the blade. And because the dry ingredients, we are just going to fold it together. And you don't need to beat that anymore. So I'm just going to remove this. Okay, so now you have this bowl, and then I'm not going to add the flour altogether. I'm just going to gently sprinkle on top and then mix up. So I've just done that flour part in 3 parts. Okay, and then now the batter is ready, which I'm just going to pour in the prepared pan, after which I have some chunks of white chocolate, the batter, because there's quite a bit of white chocolate that is there, the inside, which we've melted and added. Just pouring the batter. I'm just going to scrape down the bowl. Okay, it's quite a runny batter, so it's just going to level up on its own by itself. And then I have some bigger chunks of the white chocolate, which I'm just going to drop on the top. It's okay if it sinks down. We're just going to have some chunks of unmelted white chocolate as we are just going to bite. I'm just going to also toast it. You'll have a really nice chunks of the chocolate. You could avoid this step, or you could just keep the chunks a little smaller than this as well. Okay, so now this I'm just going to keep it in the oven for about 20 to 25. It could take a little longer as well. And bake at 180 Celsius for 22 to 25. Like I said, at 2-3 more minutes is fine. You can see the top is going to turn golden brown, and you also can insert a toothpick into the center, and that will come out clean. Now I have a batch that is made this morning, so I'm going to take that out and then open it and cut and show you how it's going to be. So now this will go into the oven now, and I'm just going to have the one made. Okay, so that's how it is going to look, really golden brown on the top. You can just pull the foil out, and if you're not sure that if it just gets really very soft or something, you can just freeze this thing along with a pan, so it just becomes easier. The plate or something too. So I'm just going to you're just going to have a nicely sized 9 brownies out of this. If you're going to bake this in the 7-inch square pan, the height is also going to be really good. It looks very rich that way. It's not a very flat brownie, not a very thin brownie. Make sure you're cutting through pretty well, because there are chunks of chocolates that we've added, and this you want the chunks also to get cut off well. Let me just take out. Okay, so it's okay that the white chocolate is sunk down, doesn't matter. If it stays up on the top, it's quite fine as well. You can see it looks white in color, and then so it sounds to be it is cakey, but then when you eat, you will know that this is the perfect texture, because there is no leavening agent at all. You can see it looks fudgy inside, like how the brownie has to be. Okay, and I'm just going to talk about a few variations that you can use on this. You can see the white chocolate is just caramelized in the process of baking, and you can also see the the specks of the orange zest, and it is going to be beautifully flavored orange brownies, which we could do to have the the flavor of the orange. If you're going to add that into the dark chocolate, then you will also have the dark chocolate's flavor together with orange. But if you have to enjoy the orange itself, then you cannot pair it up with dark chocolate. So if you want to have the beautiful orange flavor in the brownie and nothing else, then this is one recipe that you have to keep it as a keepsake, a recipe. This one is, and on top of this, you could maybe skip the white chocolate chunks if you feel like that is a lot of sweetness into your brownie. And to cut down on the sweetness that comes from the white chocolate, there is the orange zest there. That is a citrusy thing that is going to add to the flavor. You could drop in some fresh fruits like the strawberries or raspberries if you're in countries where you have easy access to the fresh fruits that can go into the baking. You can just drop in on the top. You don't have to mix it with the batter. You could also use the dried fruits, the fresh fruits which are good for baking. That if you don't have the fresh fruits, the dried ones are there, which is like the dried strawberries itself, dried raspberries itself. You could just drop it on the top, and when you're going to bite, you're also going to have the flavor of that fruit together with the orange flavor that is coming from the zest. We haven't used any juice, but this zest itself is going to give you all the flavor that this brownie needs. Okay, so with this, we are coming to the end of the sixth. We can't say it week because obviously we have skipped a week because of the festival, and so obviously it is the sixth bake along of the Fondbites Bake Along 2.0. So we are signing off this week with this beautiful and flavorful aromatic orange brownies with white chocolate. And looking forward to meeting you next time with another yummy recipe which you could bake along with me and become a consistent baker from Fondbites. See you. Bye.